Why don't we go to the South, Tim? A division close to my heart. You went first last time. I'll go first. I have my standings as follows. It will surprise you not 1% that I have the Titans winning this division.
Shocker.
I have the Jags second. I have the Colts third, and then Houston. To be honest, that's a complete coin flip. Like, I have no idea really how good either of those teams is going to be. I went with the Colts because I think they have slightly more talent. I do really like D'Amico Ryans, but he's also never been a head coach. Shane Steichen's coming in for the Colts. He's never been a head coach. They're both starting rookies from week one. Like, these guys could kind of go a bit anywhere. I just think the Colts have a few better players. I will say that. They have loads of them, and one of the best ones doesn't want to play for them anymore. But they have a few, so I'm just going to say Houston and Colts we can kind of put to one side unless you have strong disagreement around that, because I just think they're both going to be pretty terrible. The Titans over the Jags, I'll give my quick spiel and I'll throw it to you so I don't just talk about my own team for ages. The Titans last year should have won this division, should have comfortably won this division, went on a horrendous losing streak to end the season, losing 7 straight from an absurd position of strength. They had injuries out the wazoo for the second consecutive year, including, most notably, the quarterback Ryan Tannehill, who sure isn't Joe Montana, but when he's out there, the team is unsurprisingly a lot better. They won with, well, they nearly beat the Chiefs with Malik Willis, which was ridiculous. And they just went on a terrible run where they were starting Malik Willis, then they were starting Josh Dobbs, and it just wasn't, like, there was nothing there offensively, and it's not exactly a great offensive team to begin with. New offensive coordinator Tim Kelly brought in DeAndre Hopkins. I know they're not necessarily needle movers for a lot of people. I think they are. I think if the offensive line plays better and the injury bug doesn't bite, I think the team as a whole is very good. The defense is going to be really good this year, I think. The Jags are a hype team, darling, and they won the division last year. They won the division because the Titans lost it. They didn't win it because the Jags won it, in my opinion, although they did great, and they obviously had the crazy comeback against the Chargers. I just don't think they're going to be as good as people assume they are going to be. They feel very much like a team that was very good for 1 year, or at least was good for 1 year, then maybe has to learn how to win a little bit differently as teams play them, maybe a bit tougher. You're a first-place team. You have a tougher schedule. It's very different. The Titans were playing the Chiefs last year. They were playing the Bengals last year. They were playing the Bills last year. The Jags didn't really have to do that. So I think it's a whole different ballgame when you're coming in as numero uno. I think Jags take a step back, and I think the Titans just kind of hold probably steady at that sort of 10-win-ish mark, but I do think that's enough to win the division. They've had a good record against the division, and I think they're going to win the AFC South this year, which will bring me great joy. What say you?
You know, Luke, I'm going to make you a little unhappy here, I think.
Colts win the division? Is that what you're going to go?
I had the Titans easily winning this division up until I started preparing for this episode.
Okay.
Go
on, give it to me.
Yeah.
Give me the pain.
So one of the things that concerns me was when I look at teams and I look at last year's performance, I'm a big points differential guy. And the Titans found some creative ways to lose games last year. They absolutely fell apart.
Almost every way possible.
Yeah, and they absolutely fell apart down the stretch. Lost 7 in a row. Same effort, by the way, the Colts managed to put up in their last 7. But what concerns me about the Titans was their total point differential last year was negative 61. Their 298 points scored was on par with the New York Jets. It was lower than the likes of the Arizona Cardinals, the Commanders, the Bears. They're not scoring a lot of points, and they're giving up a fair number, a little above average, to end up with a negative 61 point differential. The Jags last year, who I would have thought statistically were reasonably comparable to the Titans, just sort of a switcheroo, right? The Titans lost their last 7, the Jags won their last 5, and the Jags stole the division, including obviously a late season game yet again where they beat you when you had no reason to lose to them. But
they starting a street free agent quarterback wasn't probably the best way to win that game, I would say. We still should have won, which is saying a lot.
Minus 61, they were plus 54. Minus 61 to plus 50. Their Pythagorean wins expectation was between 10 and 11, and they won 9. Yours was between 4 and 5, and you won 7. So it's almost like they actually were a little unlucky last year relative to the way they performed, and you guys actually may have been a touch lucky. So I don't, we're still friends.
No,
I'm
go
gonna
for it.
root for your Titans. I think, unfortunately, the Jags. We'll see. They added some what I'm going to call high volatility pieces in the offseason. They could certainly get sideways for the Jags, get sideways for anybody. But at this point, in one of the worst divisions in football, I have the Jags, in that kind of 9-10 game. I've got the Titans in sort of the 7-9 win range. And then I've got the Colts and the Texans fighting to see who gets the first pick in the draft.
Yeah, I will say two quick things in defense of my own team, and then we can move on so I don't have a complete pity party. As I mentioned, I think the points differential is valid. I would say there's probably three major things that I would mention. Number one, not having your starting quarterback and not even having really a serviceable NFL starter play about half the games last year will not help you. Malik Willis clearly was not ready to play football. The team shielded him as best it could, and then I think the defense towards the end of the season just got exhausted from being on the field constantly. Started Josh Dobbs, who is now backing up in Cleveland, I think, but he's a backup type player. Like if we'd had a serviceable NFL quarterback, not even a great NFL quarterback, like a bottom 10 starter level, we would have won the division last year. The second thing I mentioned is the offensive line last year was absolutely criminal, like criminally bad. Now, a lot rides on new pieces, obviously drafting offensive linemen early, free agents, etc. I get it. It's a sauce we can't predict how it will taste, but we hope it will be better. The third, and I think the most important thing of all, and you know this well because I complain to you about it all the time, we had, in my opinion, the worst offensive coordinator in the league, in Todd Downing, who was really a terrible game manager, would do stuff like we'd run on first down every single time, regardless of the box. We had a great success rate throwing on first down. We never did it. It was run on first down, run on second down, throw on third down. It's not a recipe for success in the modern NFL. And I think just that change maybe freshens things up. Now, you're 100% right in that the Titans are probably going to have to win games in an uglier fashion than the Jags. The Jags look to be a more high-flying team, and I think they won quite a few blowouts last year, which contributed to that positive points differential you mentioned. But I would just say to people, this is my last point, I promise. Remember how good the Titans were before they were absolutely ravaged by the worst injury record in the NFL 2 years in a row. Because the answer is they were division champs, and I think they have the best coach in this division too. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to defend the Titans anymore. You have the Jags winning this division,
Luke,
and I have
Tennessee.
Tennessee. There's just difference of opinion.
Here's the problem. Three years ago doesn't make a hill of beans difference. It's different players.
Yeah.
It's a different coaching staff, with the exception of a different offensive coaching staff. It's different conditions, different players on the other side.
Yeah.
2 years ago, 3 years ago, how
who's
good
the head
coach means
who's
nothing.
Who's the head coach? Who's the head coach?
That's the Vrabel. Mike
Sure.
Vrabel is the head coach.
Right.
How many
Mike
Super Bowls
does a
has he
pretty
won?
good job.
I don't know.
None as of yet.